Hello, my name is Michael Hancock. I'm the former mayor of Denver, Colorado. I remember very clearly the press conference that former President Barack Obama held, where he talked about the objectives of lifting up our young men, particularly our young men of color in this nation, and that My Brother's Keeper would be that initiative, the vehicle for engaging men from all over the country to help mentor, to guide, provide opportunity, to give a hand up to these young men. And I was so impressed with it that a few months later, when the president called me about a completely separate issue, I preempted his initial introduction about what he wanted to talk about and said to him, Mr. President, I got to tell you, I want to thank you for what you've done. And he said something to me in that conversation that I'll never forget. He says, you know, Mayor, as men of color, it hits you at some point. You know, if we can't do these sort of things while we're serving, then why do we run? You want to serve, you want to give back, but we also have a uniqueness from the communities that we come from that call on us to step up and to do things that no other person will be asked to do. And if we can't use and leverage our positions to do that, then we have wasted a valuable opportunity. And that's what I think encapsulates My Brother's Keeper more than anything.
Hi, my name is Erin Brown. I'm currently the Chief Impact Officer for the Colorado Health Foundation. When I was involved with My Brother's Keeper Denver, I was Executive Director for the Office of Children's Affairs. So when I think about the origins of My Brother Keeper Denver chapter, like I spoke to earlier, it was a true community effort. And as we think about the beginning of it, and I think most folks know, like, the impetus of the work really came out of the Trayvon Martin shooting, and like how and what that meant to President Obama, and the challenge and charge that he put out for cities to pick up the work and to adopt it. And while we were watching it closely, we didn't know what our role initially was in it until the day I got a phone call from Mayor Hancock that said, let's do this program. When I think about my favorite My Brother's Keeper program is the opportunity we had to design a My Brother's Keeper Summit. The MBK Summit was really our opportunity, one, to highlight the opportunity we had to meet the needs and understand what was important for boys and young men of color in our city. And it was absolutely important that we had their voice and that we weren't shaping what the work should be. While I think we had a very good eye on the data and what it told us, we also recognized that doing this work meant more than numbers. We also recognized that the city doesn't do this work alone, and it needed to be supported and done with community.
Hi, my name is Will Austin. Erin Brown took a delegation of us out to Louisville, Kentucky, and it was one of the national convenings of all the chapters of My Brother's Keeper. This idea of coming together with all of these other folks that was doing this similar work, and it was just a very powerful experience. I think we all came back and we were like, Denver's going to be in trouble, because we were so fired up when we left that conference, just because of some of the speakers, and President Obama spoke, and it was really a powerful experience. I think when we got back, that's when we really started to have the conversation with Mayor Hancock around, how do we make this live beyond you? Because we know when you are no longer mayor, if the right new mayor comes in and doesn't really think as highly of the program, what happens to it?
It was very important to us as we began to look at the end of our term in office. We served 3 terms, 12 years, but all seasons come to an end, and it was important, not knowing who the next mayor would be, and we understood how critical leadership is to sustaining and moving these programs forward, that we found a trustee organization that would be good stewards of what had been started, understood the program, and was just as compassionate and passionate about the effort as we were. And of course, when we thought about that, Sims-Fayola came forward, and the team came to me and suggested Sims-Fayola, and I said, absolutely, it makes a lot of sense. A lot of what they do is aligned with what we are doing. The difference that they're making in the community is very much aligned with our values and principles and the things that we care about. And so it makes a lot of sense. And so it was a unanimous selection from the team internally at the city. and I put my stamp on it and said, let's do it.
Hi, I'm Dr. Dedrick Sims, the CEO of the Sims-Fayola Foundation. We were selected because of the work that we had done and because of our singular focus on young men and boys of color is in total alignment with what the MBK is doing. We were really good at program level stuff, program level impact, and this gave us a chance to accelerate our goal to become part of system change and policy change and to move into more population level impact. So after taking time to understand exactly what had happened, we kind of rebranded MBK and not only had a focus on celebrating people who were in the community who were doing great work, but we also focused on funding now and professional development and trying to develop executive leaders of organizations that focus on young men and boys of color and to be able to fund and support their capacity building in order to reach population level growth a lot quicker. After forming an advisory council, we launched the 2024 MBK Summit, and which led us into this work that we're doing now with the action tables, which is to really do deep dives in those 6 milestones and to figure out where the opportunities lie, where the gaps are, who are the political champions that we need to be associated with and bring on board, and also craft the questions that need to be answered over the next 2 or 3 years.
Jeffrey Bowling, Board President of Sims-Fayola. My Brother's Keeper is really the launching pad of taking Sims-Fayola outside of the school and creating a much broader focus. And so, yeah, to your point, we are doing that, but we're doing that in the 6 pillars of the My Brother's Keepers program, which is allowing us to look at, how can we mentor and how can we impact when somebody is already in the job force, right? If we walk them through and we have them in the job force. What about when they go astray? And the My Brother's Keeper gives us that correctional institutional part where we're looking at trying to make sure that if they do find bad missteps, that we're able to get them back into society using that. So that was something, a focus that Sims-Fayola just didn't have the breadth to do. But bringing in My Brother's Keepers with that structure has allowed us to expand that very pointed focus of Sims-Fayola to be a much more broader community base.
Hi, I'm Arvianne Harper, and I am the Chief Operating Officer at the Sims-Fayola Foundation. I've been involved with the Sims-Fayola Foundation since 2022. I started as a contractor. I was supporting with some behind-the-scenes work with instructional coaching and curriculum and operational things, and then that shifted over time into my new role. Our current program that we have that's up and running successfully is the Empowerment Zone, and that's our diversion program. We are supporting boys who have had any kind of struggles in the justice system, and that same kind of narrowing in and focusing in on building their social emotional skills and their positive racial identity and their leadership skills so that they then are able to really show up with more agency and more authenticity in their life and take back control where control was lost. And so that is our program, our first program that's in alignment with MBK.
Hello, my name is Preston Littlejohn. I am the My Brother's Keeper coordinator at Sims-Fayola Foundation. Being able to house the My Brother's Keeper program was great. We actually got to go to Chicago to visit President Obama. We get a lot of positive feedback from the parents saying that I had one parent text me and say that you may have saved my son's life. He was going in one direction and now he's changed his life completely, and I want to thank you for that. And so that is why I do this work, right? This is why I do this work, because I was that kid who needed that help. I was that kid on the street. I was that kid homeless, you know what I mean, who was making bad choices. And so to be able to have parents say that your organization helped and saved my child's life is amazing.
The population of kiddos that we serve, the community at large, is in need of resources, whether that's financial resources or, social resources. So resources for sure, that's a common thread for our families. But what I think also is a need that has been around for a while, just now being kind of lifted up, and will probably continue to be a need for a while, is mental health support and mental health services. And it goes deeper than just the services. I mean, you look at the Black and brown community at large, our lives and experiences have been just kind of full of traumatic experiences. We find ourselves always on the defense, and rather than being on the offense to things that are happening politically, things that are happening, in our society. And those things, those things cause trauma, right? They cause people to not only get sick, they cause people to, have self-doubt, lack of access to resources, lack of desire to even go get them after so long. And those things, I think, are things that are not only present and we see as common themes, but also things that are going to continue to exist because the larger society is still struggling with them. Even if pockets of success are happening in communities, the larger society is still suffering from those. Definitely through our MBK lens, looking to continue to establish relationships with local government, city government, state government, larger civic organizations, large philanthropy organizations that are looking to make systemic change and looking to make a larger social impact. So we are at the beginning stages of a capital campaign. We're looking to get our own building. And so we're about 18 to 19 months out from that. And so that's a stretch. I mean, we're going to have to come up with, a few $1 million to make that work. But what we also wanted to do, Tom, was to be a resource to the larger community of other nonprofit organizations who are working to support youth in our city. And so to that end, the building that we're looking for a building big enough to house not only the Sims-Fayola Foundation, but also other nonprofits who need space to either collaborate, to work, to have an address. So that's a stretch for us, from moving to a downstream organization that focused on program level impact to now being program level impact and population level impact upstream and downstream, to be able to provide funding to help other organizations to build capacity, and now to ultimately potentially house them and be able to help them build capacity in-house. That's a hell of a journey.